Thank you so much. Thank you, Wyman. Thank you, Beth Heath, for putting on this incredible event. I felt so bad for Beth after, in September, this was all set up. Just then the hurricane came along and pushed it all back, but here we are today. It's quite remarkable, and such an honor to be in front of so many great American patriots who care about this subject so much. It's incredible, and we need to keep it alive in our memories for many reasons. I want to talk about first why we started the Citizens Commission on Benghazi. It was back in 2013, and we had been watching what had been taking place. The Accountability Review Board by the State Department, Pickering and Mullins, never interviewed Hillary. Then there were several congressional committees that had looked into it, but they each took their own little slice, and we seemed to be getting nowhere on it. So we felt someone needs to hold these people accountable. It's pretty obvious certain things that happen, but I'm sure we can learn a lot more if we put some people together with the contacts, the investigative skills, and let's do that. So this is what we did. We reached out. First person I reached out to was Admiral Ace Lyons, who I think you all know. Ace, and then I went to Tom McInerney, Air Force General, and Paul Vallely, Army General. And with those three, we were able to get a lot of other wonderful people. Two others who are going to be speaking here today, Claire Lopez and Kevin Shipp, are both part of our group, as well as Alan West, Pete Hoekstra, who was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and a number of others. The three gentlemen who started Special Operations Speaks, and it's quite a list of people, and we've had an incredible working relationship going on all this time. So we set out to find out what happened, why, and create a narrative. And we held an all-day conference. We brought Frank Wolf, who was the congressman from Virginia, who was the leading advocate for a select committee to take place. He spoke. Charles Wood spoke. We had a number of others, people from Judicial Watch, who has done such great work on this through the years. And I've worked closely with them for many years. So then we put out our first report in April of 2014. And we called it How America Switched Sides in the War on Terror. And we told a narrative, and that narrative still stands up to this day, and it's basically this. We also had other people come to us to tell us their stories. And one of them, who's going to be speaking next, Stephanie Jason, and her partner, Admiral Chuck Kubik, came to us. And their story was Admiral Kubik had been active duty during the Gulf War, or during the Iraq War, and then he had retired, but he stayed in that region of the world to do projects, engineering projects, building, and he was in Libya. And at the time that the Libyan revolution started, the uprising started, he was there, and he was approached by people close to Gaddafi and said that Gaddafi was prepared to abdicate under a white flag of truce. So Admiral Kubik took this message to Stuttgart, to the AFRICOM, and got to Washington, to the Pentagon, to the White House. Are you prepared to let's negotiate? We don't need to go to war. He was met with silence. The bombing started, and we know what happened. The rationale for the war was there was a great humanitarian disaster about to take place. Now, no one's going to defend Gaddafi. We know what he's done through the years, but we also know that after Saddam was captured in 2003, he gave up his weapons of mass destruction, and he was fighting al-Qaeda. So why were we so determined to get rid of him as part of this Arab Spring, as it was being called? Well, we've concluded, and I believe Claire's going to talk about this, is that one of the things that was going on is that we helped facilitate the flow of arms to al-Qaeda. which was used to overthrow Gaddafi and ultimately create this failed state of Libya. So you had that, that's really where the law was violated and our foreign policy was violated, and we basically sided with al-Qaeda in that. Then you have the issue of the security in Benghazi and in Libya in general. And we found out later, particularly during Hillary's 11-hour hearing, that we received over 600 requests at the State Department to beef up the security in Libya, over 100 of those specifically for Benghazi. Of course, Hillary claims she never saw any of them. I'm sure Hillary wouldn't lie, would she? Then we have the day of the actual day of the attack, September 11th. And what we found out from other people, we became very close with the three guys who did 13 hours, Tig, Oz, and Tonto. I'm sure you all are aware of them, and great guys, and they absolutely. Well, they made it clear to us that there had been specific advanced warnings about the attacks on September 11th. And the fact that we weren't in readiness mode, prepared for this, is inexcusable. But as Tom McInerney, the Air Force general who led the attacks into Libya, the air raids in 1986, pointed out, look, we had bases at Aviano, Sigonella, Rota, that even if we had no advanced knowledge of it, and everyone was sound asleep and received a call, hey, we're under attack in Benghazi in Libya, we need to get over there, they could have gotten up and within 2 to 3 hours maximum could have been there. To probably not save Stevens and Smith at the Special Mission Compound, but a mile away at the CIA annex that was under attack for hours and hours, could have definitely made a difference there. Even coming in, buzzing the annex, definitely could have made a difference, but we didn't. And why? Well, Leon Panetta later said, well, we didn't have enough time. He also said the intelligence wasn't good enough. I think everyone here understands the foolishness of both of those. Enough time, while it's going on, you don't know how long it's going to last, so that's certainly not an issue. And secondly, you go with the best intelligence you have. That's why we have Delta Force and other ready to go in on a moment's notice like that. So you have that, dereliction of duty, we call that. And then the cover-up, Susan Rice, the 5 shows, on and on this went. And again, here we were 2 months before the presidential election. This is a story that could be very damaging to Obama's chances for re-election. And you have a news media that helps them cover it up. And to the question why Benghazi matters, why it still matters, because these people weren't held accountable. And look at where we are today. We have another situation. The real Russiagate. We have so much evidence about Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, Uranium One, $145 million, Bill Clinton taking $500,000 from a bank, tied in with all that. You have John Podesta, you have taking money, his brother Tony Podesta taking money from the Russians. You have Skolkovo, which is the Silicon Valley of Russia, where we have made dual-use technology available to the Russians all this time. It is massive, the amount of evidence that exists that is really indisputable to show the real collusion with the Russians. Yet the media remains focused on trying to somehow find proof that Trump was the one who met with the Russians before to plan somehow how they were going to defeat Hillary. And in all this time, we've seen nothing but process crimes like this Flynn indictment this week, or the his plea deal. The others, Manafort, had nothing to do with this. So, like Andy McCarthy, who I think we all admire greatly, and he keeps us all kind of well informed on the meaning of all these type of things, that if they had more evidence, they wouldn't have done this particular deal with Flynn. So what these have in common is you have the media, and they are so, I don't even call them biased anymore. They're corrupt, because the way they cover these stories, they don't give any coverage to, we have a few people, Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Sarah Carter and John Solomon, who are really digging into these stories and looking at what's gone on here. And you have this situation where Mueller, when he was head of the FBI, was overseeing this investigation, and Rod Rosenstein was a justice, and they were overseeing the investigation where the Russians were involved in kickbacks and bribery and blackmail to gain control of uranium in this country, and they got it through Uranium One. And all this time they had this William Campbell, you might have seen this name recently, who was the confidential informant telling the FBI, look what's going on here, these bribery, kickbacks, and so he went undercover for them and was feeding them information for years. They basically ended up telling him he can't talk about any of this, but now he's apparently going to, but we'll see what happens. But, where's the grand jury? Where's the special prosecutor looking into all this? Serious, real crimes, and are these people ever going to be held accountable? So, speaking of the media, you remember a while back how much they were getting pleasure out of the culture at Fox News with Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly and all that. Well, they've each had to eat a little crow here recently. Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose. It's the same at NPR, at New York Times, Glenn Thrush. It's just really been amusing, I must say, to see what they're going through. But we don't hear much about the culture at these various news organizations. These are just one-off, isolated incidents that no one knew about. No one knew about Matt Lauer's proclivities, obviously, until this week. So this is the fake news. The fake news is that they won't even look at these stories. Instead, they are just so focused on, what Trump is doing, how evil they think he is, how horrible, and just won't even look at Hillary and why is Trump not doing it? Why is Jeff Sessions compromised? Is Trump? I don't know. Lock her up. What happened to that? What happened to putting forth a grand jury? So. Look, there's Devin Nunes with the House Intelligence Committee. He's doing a great job digging for this information. This Fusion GPS is another one, a group of journalists who've created this dossier, the Russian dossier. I'm about to wrap up here, I see, so I just want to say one more thing, that we are now in the process of forming a new organization, Citizens Commission on National Security. I'm no longer with Accuracy in Media, but we're Claire and Kevin and Ace are all with us, Alan West. We're going to continue to try to hold these people responsible, advise them. And we would love your help if you can. I'm going to be out there after this is all over, and I've got a couple dozen copies of some of my documentaries, and I'd love to visit with some of you one-on-one, and we'll talk about what we're going to do and give you a copy of my documentaries. And in the meantime, looks like I am out of time here, and I don't want to throw anyone off, so.